Hello everyone, it's Bajul Patak this side and watching my YouTube channel pyGuru. Friends, this is the third tutorial in our Tetris game series using Python and pygame. In the last tutorial, we tried to add shapes in our game, okay? Moving further, in this video, we'll be adding the further board in our game and we will make the Tetris shapes move either left, right, up or down, okay? If possible, we will also check for collision in this video, okay? So let's get started. So in the last tutorial, if you followed till last, we created the objects of our Tetris or tetramino shape outside the game, okay, here just above the while loop. But in this tutorial we'll be learning how can we do it inside a class. We'll be making a separate class to handle these things, okay. See, currently we have created a simple class object like this, t equals tetramino, and then we created a new image of it, okay, and then we were able to display the image using this nested for loops, okay. But we will make a separate class to handle this thing because we have to add more things to this, more properties to this image, like to make it move left or right or go down like this thing. So we have to create another class. Let me just comment these lines here, okay. I want to comment these lines, so we can create a class like this, class Tetris, okay. We will create a separate class for this. So let's just start creating it, class Tetris, and this time it will take two arguments from the user, the number of rows and the number of columns in our board. Currently we are simply creating the rows and columns using these two loops, okay. We are displaying it, but we have not created any board for it. A board is simply a 2D list, okay, 2D list which store all the pieces, but we do not have any kind of board for that thing. So what we'll do is we will take two things or two arguments from the user, the number of rows that we'll be having in our board and the number of columns in our board, okay, and then we'll just store it, self.rows equals rows and self.calls equals calls, okay. There are more things that we need to create, like we need to create the level, then score, there are a lot of things, but we will do it now. We will not do it now, we'll do it in the upcoming tutorials, okay. So let's create a board simply. Now again, a board is a 2D list. You can create a 2D list by simply you can say using a list comprehension. So let's use the list comprehension for it, okay. So we can do it like this, for 0 for j in range calls, okay, and then for I in range rows. Now what this will do is this will create a 2D list and fill each element with 0, okay. So if you want, you can just simply try printing it, print self.board, okay. If you want, let's create an object of it now, and object you can simply create like t equals Tetris or Tetris equals Tetris, okay. Remember this object name or this variable has a small t and this class name is a capital T, okay. So this is the different. Here we need to pass the number of rows and columns. You can simply pass the rows and calls variable that we created in the first tutorial, whose value is this thing, okay. You can try printing rows and calls here. So yes, if I just run this, it should print the self.board here, okay. It will simply print a 2D list filled with zeros, okay. We have some error. Let's see what is this. Print, we have a spelling mistake here. Let's again try running it, and this time it should run. And yes, if I just close it, it will print a 2D list here, but it's taking a little time, okay. So here's our 2D list. If I just, yes, so this is a 2D list and this will be our board, okay. If you don't, we will be using it a little while later. We have no use for it. So let's do the next thing. Here see, we have created a thing called self image equals t.image, okay. That's what we are going to do here. We are going to create a method here to create new images, okay. If you want to create a new shape, we will be create a separate method for it. But before that, we can also do one thing to show you or explain you this concept better. Let me just close this thing, okay. I'm just going to create a method to display the grid, and so you can do it like this, def draw grid. It will not take any argument, so you can do it like this. And here I'll just cut these two lines and put it inside this class, okay. So this way you will have some basic cleared, otherwise it may become a little difficult for you if you are a beginner. Okay, so now if I want to draw grid, I just have to call Tetris the object name dot the method name, that is draw grid. Okay, that's all that I want to do, that I need to do, and I can do it just like here. If I want Tetris dot draw grid, we have this method, and if I just run this, this will start showing grid. This will not make any much difference. Okay, this will still show the grid. Okay, so it's working fine. Here still we are using the rows, but instead here we should be using self dot rows. Okay, this will be better. Self dot calls, and this will not make much difference. So I hope now you have a basic thing or basic idea how to call this method. Okay, draw grid. So similarly, we are going to create another method, and this method will create shapes for us. Initially, we were doing it outside the class here, but this time we will be doing it inside the class. So self. Okay, again this will not take anything. Here we will create a variable self dot figure, and here we created it like this: image equals t dot image, or t equals tetramin. Okay, so what we need to do is we just need to pass it like this, tetramino, and here we need to pass x and y. So you can pass x anything less than number of columns and y anything less than number of rows, but here y will be passing 0 as Tetris shapes will start from the up. Okay, above. So we can just call this method here inside the init method, self dot new figure. This way this will automatically call this method. Okay, and we will be having a variable that is self dot figure, this thing. Okay, that's it. Now we can just try this thing. We can just try running this loop. Here instead of image, see in the comments, first of all we created an object and then we use this image. Okay, image equals t dot image, but this time we can simply use this method self dot figure dot image. Okay, instead of creating a variable for this. So everything will be same here. We only need to write Tetris dot figure dot image. That's it. Okay, we have some issue. Let me just run this, and this should work. Okay, here I only need to pass Tetris dot figure, and if I'm right, so we just need to modify the code little. Tetris dot figure dot x, and here Tetris dot figure dot y. Tetris dot figure dot y. Here we need to pass Tetris dot figure dot color, and this should be this thing. It should work now. Okay, so why we use the figure? Because this time we are storing our image not in t but in this variable self dot figure, which we can access outside the class using this object name Tetris dot figure. Okay, so that's it. Now if I just run this, I shouldn't be getting any error, and if I'm right, this should be working. Okay, so it looks good. Okay, it looks good. The next thing we want to do is we want to make it move downwards. So we can create another method here, and we can call it, let's say, go down. And all that we have to do is we have to add the see here in the tetramino class we have two variables, self.x and self.y. All we need to, if you want to make the shape fall down or move downwards, we need to add something to this y variable, self.y. Okay, so that's what we are going to do here. We can simply add it like this, self.figure. Okay, remember outside this class, if we want to use the access, we have to use tetris.figure, and inside the class we can use it or access it like self.figure. Okay, so self.figure.y plus equals 1. Here we can also call this method, but what will happen is that this will appear automatically. Okay, it will work very fast, so it may not visible, it may not be visible to you. So Tetris dot go down, if I do this something like this, shape will fall just. Okay, so it just fall down. Okay, working good, it looks good. Okay, now we can do one more thing. Once it falls, what we can do, we can create a new shape. Here we can check it like this: if self dot figure dot y, currently we are not checking for collision detection. If this shape is colliding with some other shape. Okay, we are simply just, so I'm simply showing you the ways we can create new shapes in our class. Okay, so self.figure.y is greater than self.rows, or we can also put it equal to here. Okay, what we can do, we can just call this new method self.newFigure method. Okay, that's it. If I just run this now, you will see, yes, so we are automatically creating new shapes. It looks good. Okay, it looks good. It's automatically generating new shapes for us. Everything looks good. The only thing is it's falling too much faster. We need to slow it down. So we have to think of some way by which we can slow this down, the falling thing. Okay, so let's do it. Again, it's very easy. We are going to use a variable counter, and we'll be doing it like this. Let's do it. Counter equal to 0. And what we'll do, we will keep adding 1 to our counter variable. So let's do it here out above the for loop. Okay, you can do it anywhere inside your code. I'm just doing it so that it will be separated from the Tetris code. So counter plus equals 1. The next thing we need to do is, if counter is greater than equal to 10,000, we just make the counter equal to 0. Okay, you can also check for 1000. It's not necessary to check for 10,000. You can use 1000 too. Okay, I'm just using it a limit so we don't have to add too much ones. Okay, it will just fall back to 0 if it gets greater than 10,000 in at any time. Okay, now remember our game is running at 24 fps, so it means in 1 second 24 frames will be created. So you can say that in 1 second the counter value will be incremented 24 times. So in 2 seconds it will become 48. Okay, so like this, the multiple of 24 in each second. Now here what we can do is, here we are simply calling the tetris.go down. Okay, we are not going to call it like this. We will be putting it inside the if loop, if condition. If counter mod by fps, now fps is 24, okay, divided by let's say here, I need to create one more variable here. So we can create like self.level equals 1. Currently we are at the level 1. In our game, the speed of the falling shapes will depend on the level. If the level is 1, the shapes will fall a little slower. If the level gets 2, the shape will start falling a little faster. In 3, more faster, like this. Okay, so we can do it like this. fps divided by self.level multiplied by 2, okay, is equal to 0. Then what we need to do is, we can simply call tetris.go down here. Now what this will do, we need to remove this line here. Let's just remove this thing. We also don't want this line. Let's also remove this thing. Okay, if you don't want to display images, you can use this line. You can just uncomment this line and you can just remove this 2 lines. That's it. So here it looks good. Now what it will do, let's say the value of counter is at any time is let's say 24. So the value of fps is 24 also. 24 divided by self.level is self.level is sorry, here we will be using tetris.level, not self.level. So 24 divided by 1 is 1 into 2. Okay, 2. So it will, after calculation, it will become 2. So 24 divided by 2 is equal to 0. Then the Tetris will fall, or shape will fall. So if I just run this game, you will see the shapes will fall a little slower. Okay, yes, so it's falling a little slower, but actually it's falling too much slower. We can just put it inside a, this way it will fall a little faster. Yes, it looks good. So we are getting some space thing. Okay, it looks good. Now we need to check for or make it move to the left or right things. Okay, we can do it like this. We need to make our moves. Tetris move sidewards, either to the left or the right when we press the arrow keys. So we will be creating a new method here. Def go side, and here we'll be using we'll be taking a argument dx. Okay. Now this dx value will simply be either 1 or -1. If the value of dx is -1, our shape will move toward the left. If the value of dx is positive 1, it will move toward the right. That's it. Okay, so self dot figure dot xc, if we wanted to make our shape fall downwards, we were adding 1 to the y. Similarly, if we want to make our shapes move right or left, we can simply add the dx value to self.figure.x. Okay, so if we add 1 to it, it will move toward the right. If we add -1 to it, it will move toward the left. That's it. Now we also need to check for collision detection. Okay, but we'll not be doing it currently. We'll do it later. So we can do it like this. Now we have to check for events if we are pressing the left key or the right key. So we can do it like this. Here, if event dot key is equal, okay, sorry, here there will be an e. So event dot key is equal to pygame dot k left. Then what we need to do is we need to make our Tetris go sidewards, and we'll be passing -1 to it. Okay, and let me just copy this line, and if we go towards the right or pressing the right arrow key, we'll be adding or passing +1 to it. If I just run this game, this should work. We should be able to yes, if I click left arrow key, it's going leftward, but it will also get out of the board. Okay, it's working fine. But since we are not checking for collision detection, that's why it will just move out of the board. We'll add collision detection in the next video. Okay, now we need to add the rotation part. Okay, we have to add the rotation part, so we can do it like this: def rotate or Tetris. Okay, what we'll do is, first of all, we'll just take the rotation value, current rotation value of our Tetris figure. So self.figure.rotation, we have rotation variable in our here thing, self.rotation. Okay, so we have this variable in our tetramino class, so we will just store it in a separate variable called rotation, self.figure.rotation. Now what we'll do is, we'll simply add 1 to it, and then we'll rotate it. Okay, so we can do it like this. Just wait a second. So all we need to do is, we need to call this method of the tetramino, that is rotate method. So it's very easy. You can just call self.figure.rotate. That's it. And once we do it, we should also be able to rotate our figures. So let's try doing it. Again, we are not checking for collision detection. Okay, so keep this thing in mind. Let me just copy these lines, paste it here. Okay, so now in our game, if I press K up, our figure will rotate. Okay, so we can just simply call the rotate method. Okay, so Tetris dot rotate. If I just run this now, our figure will also be able to rotate. We'll also be able to rotate our figure. Yes, see, it's working fine. Okay, it's rotating. The figure is rotating as many times as I press the up arrow key. This one is also rotating. Yes, it's looks good, working fine. Okay, so it looks good. Now the next thing that we need to pass is, if I keep pressing the down arrow key, our Tetris will fall a little faster. Okay, so what we need to do for this is that I just need to create a variable, and this will keep wait a second, just all we need to do is, we need to create a variable here, and we will call it move down. Okay, and we will initialize it with false. Here we will check for if we are pressing the downward arrow key, so we can just copy this line and paste it here. So K down, if we are pressing the down arrow key, what we will do, we will simply make the move down value to true. Okay, move down equals true. Looks good. One more thing, if we just unclick it, if we are no longer clicking the downward arrow key, we have to make it back to false. Otherwise, it will be true till the entire game. Let me just copy this line and paste it. And here, instead of key down check, we have to check for key up. Okay, so it means we are unclicking the key. So we can just copy this line and paste it here, and we have to make key down value false. That's it. So if we press the downward arrow key, it will become true, and once we just unclick it, it will automatically come back to false. That's it. Now here where we were doing this thing, what we can do is here we can put a or here or move down. Okay, so either if this thing is true, okay, if this entire thing is true, or condition or expression is true, or this variable is true, or Tetris will fall. If I just, you will see, if I just keep pressing the downward arrow key, our Tetris shape will fall faster. So if I just run this, yes, so it's falling a little faster. Yes, so it's looking good. Yes. So this was it for this video, guys. If you love this video, leave a like or a dislike. In the next tutorial, we'll be adding the board and the collision detection for our game. Okay. So yes, this is it. If you love this video, leave a like or a dislike. If you're new to my channel, subscribe it. Thank you. See you in the next tutorial.